Are we ready? Is everybody ready?
Stretched out.
I'm ready to go.
Get the tits in place. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm just going right in. This is the BREWDCAST. I am, as always, Bud Robinson. In the upper
Spread
left-hand
those
corner
cheeks
here.
and dive right in.
That's
What?
what they say. Yes.
That's the way you do
This
it,
episode is going to be wildly inappropriate, and I love that idea. I love that energy.
which is a total change of pace for us.
And it is. We're normally so mature and together on a screen. Upper left-hand corner is Leon Robinson. Say hi, Leon.
Hi, Leon.
Are you deep-throating your mic, or did I see something?
Penis. Penis.
That's
town.
County doing something bad.
Town penis.
County
I mean,
doing bad.
town. Town historian.
I'm the town penis. Okay. Whatever.
It's not such a bad job to have.
But-
You watch? Did anybody watch Dynamite?
I didn't.
No, I was just telling Bud. You all right over there?
We can. I
You
have.
okay?
I have the results up. We can talk about it if you'd like to. I'm very.
Let's just touch on some really cool highlights.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Fucking Bryan Danielson came back.
Really?
The Blackpool Combat Club came out. They beat up Hangman in the back.
Okay.
They beat up Don Callis in the back. So it was just Omega.
Mm-hmm.
So Omega and Cobb had a pretty good match. It wasn't like the best match, but it wasn't bad by any means. And Omega was playing like he was hurt. Well, then the three Blackpool Combat Club guys come out. They're circling the ring. And then Brian's music hits. And he comes out and he kicks them all out of the ring. He's like, "What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. Then he gives Omega his hand. He helps him up and they like do this like little half hug. And Omega turns around to yell at one of the guys. And then Brian just kicked his fucking head in.
Oh.
And they are full fucking blown heel.
Oh.
And I was just sitting there like, oh my God, yes, this is fucking awesome. Heel Bryan Danielson. And then they're beating the shit out of Omega, and Danielson's going, you're what's wrong with professional wrestling.
Oh.
You're giving us a bad name. And I'm just like, this is a license to print fucking money, dude. 4 versus 4, Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. Different styles, different ways of doing shit.
Who's there for?
Who?
Are you including Hangman?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Fuck Hangman's in.
Okay. I suppose, yeah, they just whooped his ass.
That was the highlight of the night. Really good promo between MJF and Jungle Boy. And they're planting that seed of what Town said. I think MJF's going to lose his strap to Jungle Boy. They had a really good promo.
I could see it.
What else happened that really I remember?
We have talked about that before. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
It does if you can build them up, though. You got to build them up. You can't just... Orange Cassidy won in a fun match. It was a fun match. I'm starting to wonder, are they going to pull that strap from him pretty quick? Or are they not? Because he's defended that belt. That was the 17th time he's defended that belt.
Jesus Christ.
And he's not had that belt that long.
Yeah.
It's what the TNT belt should have been.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there like, are we going to...
Yeah, but that's a tough schedule to run for anybody. And I think if anybody can do it, it's Cassidy. Like, he's got the energy. But like Cody...
Hey. Chat GPT, have you guys heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. Tom's fucking around with it today.
Great.
I gotta figure out how it works though.
This is not at all related to what we're talking about.
It is though.
Okay.
You'll see why. Yeah. What the fuck? I can't figure it out. Oh, wait, no, there it is. Okay. All right. I got ChatGPT to write something for me,
Okay.
and I wanted to read it to you guys. Okay.
Oh God.
It's pretty long. It's a story. I asked him to write me a story.
Okay.
Orange Cassidy was a man of many talents.
Love it.
Many quirks and many unsuspected surprises. He lived in a small town that was known for its quiet lifestyle, its friendly inhabitants, and its love for all things orange.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, that's good. That's all I really have to. That's all I really have to read. There's like a whole fucking. It's a whole fucking story.
I never knew that about Wherever. I didn't know that they liked all things orange.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Wherever. Yeah. It's. I put that in there. At my job, everybody's freaking out about ChatGPT.
Yeah, of course.
Because the kids can just type it in and then they get a thing. I never use it, so I just typed in because I'm like, sitting there. I'm like, fuck, I'll turn it on. I downloaded it and then I put in, write me a story about Orange Cassidy, and that's what I got. He's a quiet man who doesn't speak very often. I'm like, no, that's true. That's true. Oh, there's another part on there that made me fucking laugh out loud. What was it? Where is it? He was a man of few words. Okay. Orange Cassidy was always dressed in bright shades of orange and had a rubber duck attached to his backpack. He was a man of few words.
Need him with a rubber duck.
He was a man of few words, and when he did speak, it was in a low, monotone voice that would make anyone fall asleep.
I think that you should print this out, highlight all the best parts, and then send him a copy. And then
story,
see if
it's his ducky for his backpack.
Yes,
it's his origin story. It's his origin story. Orange Cassidy origin story. Yeah,
I love it. That's great.
That match wasn't bad. With they just do such a good job with his match. Like I said before, he reminds me of Bret Hart as the Intercontinental Champion in like 91, 92.
He definitely has that vibe. He absolutely does.
And it's strange because he's like, everybody thinks he's a comedy wrestler, but he's not really a comedy wrestler anymore. He's something totally different. He's kind of grown past that.
Well, like Bret Hart's thing, like Bret Hart was like the cool wrestler, and that's Orange Cassidy to a T. Like all the kids had his wraparounds, right? And now you can't find them. They're like,
hey,
I looked for them. They're expensive.
Somewhere I have a pair of those.
You lucky son of a bitch. You
Somewhere.
Lucky bastard.
I was a Bret Hart mark for a while. Then I moved on to Shawn Michaels.
Well.
Then I moved on to probably Stone Cold because everybody did.
Yeah.
And then Trips. And then I don't know. Danielson. Danielson probably at some point. A little bit of Punk. And now Orange Cassidy. He's the best. He's the best. It was a good show. Dynamite was a good show.
Yeah.
The Adam Cole thing was cool. I think they're doing Adam Cole Jericho at a pay-per-view. They're starting to build that, which I'd be totally fine with. Yeah. The only thing I want to say about Chris Jericho, I think he needs to win soon.
Yes.
Because he's been getting just beat by everybody.
Or he needs to take some time off.
One or the other.
I almost think taking time off makes more sense because like he's putting guys over, and that's great. That's awesome. If he walks away like pissed off because he can't win, and then he comes back and like that crowd's going to be behind him 110%. Like his
Jericho
return
Appreciation Society is not what the Inner Circle was.
No,
it's not as good.
It's not.
Different.
It's a little more comedy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Stooges.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, all the guys in there, I think, have a level of comedy to them. Even Daniel Garcia, who wasn't in the beginning, he was a very serious guy, and he's
sports entertainer, not a pro wrestler.
Now he's very he's very bro-y and very like as a satire almost.
Yep. Yep. But hit your list because apparently you have a lot of things we got to talk about.
Yeah.
Should we start with the most obvious one?
I thought we would end with that. I assume that you're talking about Punk.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go
Okay.
through what you got, then we'll talk about Punk at the end.
So Stacy Keibler is going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I love Stacy Keibler. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
I think a lot of women from that era get shit because it was definitely an era wherein Vince McMahon was hiring women wrestlers for their physical appearance. Like 100%. I think Stacy Keibler is in that class. And I'm not saying that she's not talented. She's amazingly talented. And I think there's a lot of WWE women wrestlers who came out of that looking awesome. But they don't get the credit for it because they were hired for a very specific purpose and people still see them that way. I think Stacy Keibler falls in there too. Like she's like that bump that she took with the Dudleys. Like holy shit. Like not many people would have done that.
What I always thought about Stacy Keibler was in an era of plastic and fake. She never did that.
Yeah.
She was just really tall and really like fit and really just like she's a beautiful woman. And I always thought she did. I remember her with Tess too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The testicles thing. And I thought that she was so much. I thought she had more depth than a lot of people did at the time. I thought she had more depth than Tori Wilson. I thought she had more depth than some of the people that were running around that had no depth. They were just half naked.
Yeah.
And pumped full of plastic and silicone. So I kudos to Stacy Keibler.
Yeah.
I don't think she gets enough credit for what she did.
No. I would agree.
Agreed.
Did you see that they named the Warrior Award recipient?
I can't believe they still have that, but
Tim White. Tim White.
Oh, okay.
The old referee, the guy that drove Andre around. I didn't realize he was dead. He died like.
I was gonna say, didn't he recently pass?
Yeah, pretty quick. Pretty quick. No, he died like a couple years ago, like 2020, I think it was, or something. But that seems like yesterday, even though it's not. But yeah, no, he's getting the Warrior Award recipient guy. I don't know why they don't just put him in the hall. I don't know what he's going to get the Warrior Award for courage. I don't know the story behind it. Is he courageous because he made it through Andre the Giant's beer farts in the car when they rode together?
I mean,
because that would take some fucking courage. Oh, you just drank 3 24-packs of beer?
Oh, fuck.
And you farted. Great.
Nobody in here is a smoker, right? Who else is it just those two and Rey Mysterio at this point?
No, there's somebody else is going in. Who the hell is it? Batista.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like he has said that he doesn't want to go back. I'm shocked.
Officially though, at this moment, okay, hold on. Rey Mysterio, the Great Muta.
Oh right, yeah.
Stacy Keibler, Andy Kaufman, and Tim White, and Batista supposedly is going in. That's the rumor.
Interesting.
So
allegedly.
He wants to, so I think he will. I think that's going to happen. I'm excited. All those people belong in there. I mean, Muta and Andy Kaufman. If you actually watch the shit he did with Lawler,
I don't. You all know I don't study much in the way of like WWE or wrestling history. There are two exceptions
noticeable.
to that. There are two exceptions to that. The first being Gorgeous George. The second being Andy Kaufman. Like that run with him and Lawler is just it fills me with joy. Like
it was great.
He was such Andy Kaufman as a comedian was like next level trolling. Like he originated it, right? In a lot of ways, and I think like
so he was such a good heel.
Him in that role, yeah, like I love it. I just love it. That's all. I'm done. I'm happy that he's going in because I think that
I am too.
Overdue. If I'm
sometimes you look at these Hall of Fame classes and you're like, what? But I don't have anybody here where I'm thinking that.
Didn't they induct Drew Carey at one point?
Yeah, but again, he was there. He did a thing one time.
One time.
Yeah.
That seems Hall of Fame worthy.
Sure. Yeah, he was there once, and he's sort of famous. Anyway, so I came across this article saying that Nikki Cross is pursuing her PhD. And that sparked in me, being the fanboy that I am, fangirl, what if she came to AEW? Like, I don't know how she's being utilized at this point. Like, I don't know if she's getting a fair shake, but I remember how she was in NXT, and I loved her shit. And then now she's like a superhero or something, and I'm like,
No,
what the
she
fuck?
hasn't been a superhero.
No,
for a while.
Okay.
She's kind of back full circle to the crazy lady thing.
Okay.
The last I saw from her, they have her like standing in the crowd, looking at shit menacingly.
Weird.
I mean, isn't she using the Sanity theme again? She's pretty much back full circle at this point.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but I know I saw some stuff about her. I think you're right.
Jacket around.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like she's just gone back to that same. I'm sure there'll be differences to it, but I mean, it feels like she's gone back to the same thing she was doing.
My response to you, Bud, is that the AEW's women's division needs women. But at the same time, I don't know if it needs women, if that makes sense. Because what we already have isn't getting on TV.
Yeah.
They're doing a better job. But it's interesting because like 8:10 to 8:20, like that time range, every single show is when they put the women on. Every time they're in that same time slot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been obviously they're playing up the feud with the Outcasts and the originals or whatever they're calling them.
Yeah.
And that's working, but you kind of sit there like, do you need more people? I mean, you do, but you don't because you're not using them.
That's the thing.
There's so many that don't even get to work. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating thing is that like they have this roster. They have a huge roster, but like if you look at the male roster, if you look at the men's roster, it is there's a lot of utility there. There's a lot of guys who are getting used constantly, whose stories and their arcs are good. Like they're going through arcs and they have intricate stories. But like you look at the women's division right now, there's really only two storylines going on. It's Jade Cargill is still a champion, and this Outcasts versus Originals. What's the third?
And behind that Outcast Originals, they have Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter that they're slowly brewing.
Okay. I didn't see what they did.
They are.
I don't.
They didn't do anything with it tonight. They're going to do it. They literally have to do it. They don't have to do it now, and they had something fall into their lap. They're going to do it because that's going to be big money when it happens, if they do it right.
Maybe not. I just like...
It's going to be a slow burn. I mean, it's going to be a slow burn. And they built it, and they were building it when Hayter won that belt, and then Saraya showed up. So they kind of had to temper it. But they still have those moments where they kind of throw something out there like, this will happen or that'll happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be a slow burn. But that's a feud. If you did that right, that could be really good.
Yeah.
That could be really good.
It could be. Yeah. I'm not seeing a lot of build on that in particular. Like they're not doing really it a lot.
Subtle.
It's very, very subtle.
Really subtle, yeah.
But like, as we were saying, like, where do you put that on the show? They either need another show or they need to ditch women's wrestling.
They're getting another show.
Not doing.
No, they're getting another show. You know that, right? Do you know that?
No. Maybe
they're getting a new show with TBS.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night at 6:05.
Okay. Do we know
the time slot that WCW used to have Saturday night in like Georgia Championship? I don't know when it's starting, but I know that it's pretty much approved.
Okay.
And that's because they have a name for it. I think it's like Collision or something, which I don't like, but whatever. Because I don't think they can call it Saturday Night because I think Vince owns that. Because he got like all the WCW copyrights.
They've let a number of those just expire though.
Some yes, some no.
I don't know how much they've kept up on all those. I'm gonna
imagine more than you think, especially with the WCW stuff. I don't think they see the ECW stuff because that's the shit they're really letting go. Because they don't see that as viable for any reason. It's just like whatever, it's ECW. We don't give a shit. Like I thought the name ECW even they lost the rights to that for something for promoting shows, I think, or something. So another guy was promoting shows as Extreme Championship Wrestling.
It's back.
Yeah, but you can promote it, but you can't make T-shirts.
Yeah.
And you can't sell merchandise that has a logo, and you can't, like, you couldn't have a TV show called ECW. You just have the rights to run shows as Extreme Championship Wrestling. Yeah. That's all you have. So you can't. I don't even think they could put a logo on. So
it's kind of hamstringing yourself there.
Yeah. But no, they are getting a Saturday show, which I think is awesome because that's a historic time slot. But I think they need to put more into that show than what they're putting into Rampage.
They need to put women on that show. That's what they need to do. Like more women on that show.
Yep.
Or get rid of the division. Give it to somebody else. I don't know what the best option is, but like
there's no way they're getting rid of that division. They have that. Britt Baker is a cash cow.
That's nice, but like
I'm not going to disagree with you at all.
Roster that is being.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Which, to be fair, that's true to the men's roster as well, to some extent.
Some of the people are going to go to ROH.
Yeah.
And ROH is picking up, and we've seen some of those guys kind of leave.
Oh yeah.
And they're not as around them much, which is good, which is what we wanted. So
Athena is really thriving in ROH, it would seem.
Yeah, she doesn't do Dynamite or Rampage or anything. She does Dark and she does ROH.
Which is cool. So, like, I'm glad she's getting TV time. Athena is awesome.
Are you going to make us mad with this one? Because I like those.
Sorry. No. I wanted to point out that we have, with WrestleMania coming up, we always have like a stacked set. Like there's a lot going on. Like WWE by itself like packs the entire week, sometimes the entire like 2 weeks or whatever. And usually like indie shows are doing the same thing. I wanted to point out that we also have Impact and NJPW Super Show on Thursday, and a Super Card of Honor is on Friday.
Yep.
It's just like that's a fucking lot of wrestling. I'm just excited by those. Like those two in particular have some kick-ass matches.
I have yet to order a Ring of Honor show,
and
I don't know why. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I ordered a GCW show, and I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, but ROH, like, it's one of those things where it's like, why am I not watching this? Why don't I just order this and watch? Because I'm interested in it, but I just have not. And I think part of it is it's hard to find. It's harder to buy those pay-per-views. So
yeah, I don't know where this is hosted.
Bleacher Report.
Oh, okay. I will probably get Multiverse, which is the Impact show. I will probably get Super Card of Honor because I don't already have enough wrestling to watch. I need to watch.
And more. You won't watch WrestleMania.
No, I won't. Why would I?
I'm gonna watch WrestleMania. Are you gonna watch Mania, Leon?
Not live.
I mean, I'm gonna have it on in the background when I'm doing stuff. And if we play 7 Days, but I'll probably tell you about it.
What time?
That's true.
Is it, like, what time is it supposed to be?
I don't even know. I have to look. I don't know. It's WrestleMania, and it's a big deal. And it's like the when we were growing up, our dream was to main event WrestleMania, and that's the show. But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've gotten so out of touch with WWE, and I am really happy that they're doing good. And from what I've seen from them, they're way more functional. But at the same time, I'm just like, I've been burnt so many times by this product. It's really, really hard for me to want to just like dive right back in.
Yeah.
And be like, I'm going to watch Raw tonight. And I'm going to watch SmackDown.
Like when I first learned about NXT, that was the first time I was like really, really excited about a WWE product. Because they were bringing in indie guys, they were doing something different and spectacular, and they're just not like, I don't think they're at a place where they can do anything that's that different from the original. But like the one match that is sort of interesting is Asuka versus Bianca Belair, and the rest of the card, I'm just like, I could miss that. I'm all right.
There's things I'm curious about. The Cody thing. I mean, if that guy wins the belt, it's like that fucking dude just lived everybody's dream. You go, you fucking battle WWE, you make your own company, and then you show up in WWE and you become a main eventer and win the world belt at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's not the coolest thing ever. Even though, like, sometimes I think people remember Cody's run with AEW with rose-colored glasses because there was moments where it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Anthony Ogogo? Does anybody remember that guy?
I don't.
Anthony Ogogo, the guy he fought where
didn't he have some sort of eye injury or something?
Don't know.
Like he can't.
He fought
Like he hasn't done anything since, right?
Literally
pay-per-view match.
But he's still training. They literally built him up, and then they didn't do anything with him, and he was like fed to Cody, and it's just like, the fuck are we doing? Some of the shit with Cody was not. It was very Triple H-esque, like 2003 Triple H. That's what it felt like, you know. But he just didn't have the belt. Bud's looking at Anthony.
Not unfair.
Anything good?
He retired from boxing because of a eye injury. He is still apparently in AEW. He was apparently in an 8-man tag with the Nightmare Factory in 2021.
But they're not a thing.
Yeah,
that doesn't exist anymore. Like they haven't done anything with the guy.
Yeah.
Like he literally just had that one, and he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
He probably wasn't ready for that spot, but he wasn't bad.
I think from what I heard of like Cody's run in the Indies and in Japan, that was like his best stuff.
Yeah.
And I think
that
made it reasonable for him to move to AEW, but I think that he had definitely
the star power.
Idea. Yeah.
He had the star power. He's very much a WWE guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's his style. Mm-hmm. And like in WWE, he's doing great. The rumor is he's going to win that belt and then he's going to bring back the Winged Eagle.
I could see it. Yeah.
Which gets me. That fucking belt is the greatest belt of all time. I don't know why they ever got rid of it. I never would have gotten rid of that belt. It was the fucking most amazing belt.
Because it didn't spin.
That was Austin, actually. They went to the bigger one.
Oh, that's right.
The more circular one.
Yeah.
Which I didn't mind. That belt was okay.
Yeah.
And then they had the undisputed title that Brock had, which was just shitty. And then
it was pretty ugly.
And then they went to the spinner, which was awful. And I don't like the new one.
No.
I get it, but I don't like it. It's just a big WWE logo. It sucks. It's not the Winged Eagle was. That was the belt. That was the belt.
Mm-hmm.
So
pretty.
I hope they bring it back. That'd be awesome. And Triple H is kind of a history guy, so I'm hoping that he
is, yeah.
He sees it that way.
One can hope.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a segue, and I don't have one. Do we think that we talked about this last week?
Insert segue here.
Insert segue here. We talked last week about how FTR might be leaving. What do we think? Like, at this point, here's what has put me on the fence about that is that Tony Khan has now announced it on Twitter, like, you know, hyping up next week's show or whatever. I don't. If they leave, what do they do?
My opinion is that they re-signed her, they wouldn't even have done this. That's truly what I think. And I think that they probably had to sit down with Tony where it was like, hey, what are we doing? And I think this was planned for a while. You know, I think they're going to win the belts, and I think they're going to have a run, because there is no better tag team.
That's true.
I mean, there isn't right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really good teams. The Young Bucks are really good. But the FTR is just, they're the team right now. They're what everybody wants to see. So I think so. And hey, if they could have went back to the E for all we know, and they could lose. And if you have them lose to the Guns clean and they have to leave,
yeah,
that's fucking heat. If FTR loses, what the fuck are we doing with the Guns? Because there's nobody like in play. You know what I mean? There's no team in place.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of teams that I think could go up against the Guns, and I think this would be a good way for them to end that feud. And I think if the Guns go over clean against FTR, you've made yourself. They've made themselves a huge tag team.
Yep, and I think that's great. I think it's great if that's what they're going to do. It's awesome. I just don't see it.
But like the one caveat is that they're like, we won't come back ever. I'm like, that's a little because even if FTR is like, hey, you know, we're going back to the E, or we're going to Japan or whatever, like, I have to imagine that they're not ever going to say we're never coming back to AEW.
The only way I can see that is they're talking about how much longer they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of I think they're at the end of that. You know, this is our last big contract, and then we're just not signing another one. So those guys they're probably our age.
Yeah. Maybe a little younger. Not
much. They are. They've been wrestling for 19 years, so they might be like 36.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So they might be like 35, 36, but
yeah.
Still, like, you know, and they've been through a lot too. I mean, they're beat up. They've been through some wars.
Yeah.
So just look at that and I go, what are we gonna do? You know, are we gonna go back there? Are we gonna do this? Are we gonna do that? Do we want the money? Do we want the chance to do the important stuff, like the good angles and the good matches and shit? Because you know what you're gonna get in the
Yeah.
And Triple H will use them way better. He'll use them way better. I have no doubt. But I think Vince McMahon's influence is creeping back in. And I think that is going to change the game a little bit. And if I'm FTR and I'm sitting there like, well, we could go there, we go here, we could go there, and then they look and they go, oh, well, Vince is back in. I don't want to shave your ass again. Can we do something else? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I also just think their depth in tag team wrestling is not there. Like, I don't know what their tag team roster is.
Do you know what one of the beautiful things is, though, is they unify those tag belts on the Usos.
Mm-hmm.
And that's made the whole tag division better because they don't need as many teams. That was one of the issues they had when they did the brand split. They didn't have enough teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember the early brand split. You bring a team in, like when La Resistance came in.
Mm-hmm.
They feuded with the Dudley Boys, who were the champions. They won the belts for them. They had a feud with them. The Dudley Boys won. The Dudley Boys went back to whatever. And the next team came in. They feuded with the Dudley Boys. They were essentially the Brewd of the WWE. They've never been described that way before. But they literally were. They were the whole division.
That is
on Raw.
Yeah.
Then on SmackDown, It was even worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had Billy and Chuck.
Yeah.
And then you just had those teams like that. So they just never had that tag team depth. They've never gotten it.
They dropped it. I think they stopped caring so much about tag team wrestling. I don't know if that's like a Vince thing, but like they didn't care about it. And in which case, like, get rid of the titles. Like, why are you even bothering? But They have for a very long time. They've had their stars like the Dudleys and like the Hardys and Edge and Christian. Like,
and when those three teams were around, that was all they had.
Yes, that's the thing.
You had other teams. You had like APA, who were like a low card team that they just were like comedy relief almost in a way.
Yeah. And
you had other teams that would pop up here and there, like Al Snow and was it Steve Blackman, Head Cheese?
Yeah.
Like them. You had teams like that.
Al Snow and like everybody.
Yeah, but they always have the teams where you would just kind of pop in and then you'd be a team for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because back then too, those belts always wound up in one of those three teams.
Mm-hmm.
And it might go to the Rock and Soccer, it might go here, or it might go there, but it's going to always end up back there.
Yeah.
And the Outlaws, the New Age Outlaws too.
Oh, of course.
But they were kind of before that scene, the TLC. But
yeah, they fizzled out well before that started. Like that style.
I don't know if fizzle is the word. I think the word is more of they moved on to different things.
Yeah.
Because they broke them up and they were trying to push, But if the Outlaws never broke up, they would have kept those belts forever.
Yeah,
they were that good. I mean, they were that good.
I would agree.
They were that good.
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah. So I don't know where FTR is going, but I think they're staying in AEW.
Okay.
I mean, if they lose that match, that crowd is going to shit on it. But it's going to be heat.
I don't think so. I think if they lose, I think the crowd is just going to be like, "Oh shit, those guys are leaving," and you'll wind up with like a "Thank you FTR."
There'll be initial, "Oh, what the fuck," and then you're right. Yeah.
Like, because I think you can't make that. You can't make that. You have to make it a clean victory.
Oh, it has to be.
If they're leaving.
It has to be.
Because they have given so much to AEW, and to like have them leave on a shitty note like that, nobody would love that. Nobody.
Nope. What's next, bud?
Mox's comments on Renee Paquette. So the only bit that I know is, I'm just going to read this quote. I will say this, and I hate to say, I don't think I've ever said anything even remotely negative about AEW, but I will say this. As an observer, it seems like, I spent 8 years on the indies, a couple of years in WWE development, spent the 8 years in WWE. I have never seen so much bullshit drama in one place in my entire effing life. And it's true. It's so fucking true. He's right. Like, as solid as I think that locker room is, which is shocking. Like, it's surprising with the amount of drama that they've dealt with, that locker room is still.
I think there's a few parts, but I think there's a few parts to that. I think one of the parts of it is you have a mix of indie guys who've never been anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You have a mix of guys who were in like ROH and higher level indie places in Japan, like in the Bucks and Omega.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a ton of guys that were in WWE who were so entrenched in that locker room system.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Khan is not Vince McMahon, and that locker room is not the same as the WWE one. So you're expecting. I think there's like a weird level of respect that those older guys that were in WWE expect. There's certain like etiquette they think that you're supposed to follow. These other guys come in and it's like, Tony's a cool boss and I want to get my shit in. And I have all these ideas, so I'm going to go talk to him. I'm going to tell him. And I don't want anybody to tell me my ideas are bad. Because that age gap, I know this sounds so fucking boomerish, but Chris Jericho's 55.
Yeah.
Ish. John Moxley's almost 40. These WWE, Danielson's 40. CM Punk's 40. These guys are a little older. They came up in a different time. They came up in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And the shit they dealt with is not the same shit. Like Sammy Guevara didn't deal with that. You know what I mean? Darby Allin didn't deal with that. Like these younger guys didn't deal with that. And I just think there's this. The business has changed so much in the past 5 years
mm-hmm.
with the style. and that fan base is not the WWE fan base, as I've said before. And I just think you're mixing all this shit together, and it's like listening to this is a weird reference, but I don't care. It's listening to the Ultimate Warrior when they did the WWE special on him after he died, where he said he came in and he ran to the ring and he shook the ropes. And he's like, I got this huge reaction. I go in the back and all these old guys are telling me, you can't do that. You're going to ruin the business, blah, 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 blah. You don't know what you're doing. And he and Warrior's like, yeah, I listened to that. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I acted like I was going to do it. Then the next night I ran to that ring. I shook those fucking ropes because the business was changing and Warrior knew it. And kudos to Warrior for that.
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about him positively enough. But that was like, I listened to him and I'm like, I feel that with this company. There's a weird, like talking about the Elite who aren't that young, but they're younger than like Jericho and those guys. That feud that we're having where Danielson literally says, you're what's wrong with this business. I literally think that's what most people in the WWE think. Like what Braun Strowman said about your flipping and this and that. It's all you're going to do. You just go deliver pizzas. You can't do anything else. That's the WWE way, and that's kind of the way that locker room is.
That's like a very good point. Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. I think, and that's, CM Punk comes in and he has that WWE mindset. And you have to protect yourself, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to fight for your shit. Because Mox does the same thing, and Jericho does the same thing. But Jericho's so tight with Tony Khan, it doesn't matter. But then I can see how this all unfolded, because they're, millennials versus Gen Xers. You know what I mean? This is like a different way of looking at the world. And I can just see the way that unfolded and how Punk, this is how it's supposed to be done. These are the things we're supposed to do. And these younger guys are, they've only were working together. You start bringing in these older guys. It's just a big, you're putting all this shit together and some of those pieces don't fit the best. And I think that's what's happening.
And I think, God, there's like a big part of my brain back here that's like, is this all a fucking work? 'Cause I don't trust anything in wrestling anymore.
You can't.
I just like, when we talk about...
I think part of it now is trying to work through the whole old system of shoot type stuff or the real stuff.
Yeah.
Just trying to work people that way. Work folks like us.
The marks, which is cool, but also unnerving.
You cannot work people. You can't work your fan base this way. Because that's what Russo tried to do in WCW, and look what happened.
Yeah, but is it fair for us to make equal Vince Russo and Tony Khan?
No, not at all.
I mean, like I have said about 100 times on this show, if there's anybody who could do it, who could pull it off, it's Tony Khan. And I'm not saying that because he's an amazing storyteller. He's a decent storyteller. For the most part, like his stories hit pretty hard. But I think like he knows who to lean on. He knows that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and the Elite and like all of those folks have experience working that blurring that line between reality and wrestling. And so like I hear what you're saying, like Vince Russo fucked it up, but I mean Vince Russo fucked up.
You just have to be. The other thing is you have to
be careful.
If it's a work and none of the boys in the back are in on it, you don't want to work your own workers.
I mean, yeah, if that's the case, like if this whole thing is a fucking work, everybody's got to be in on it.
There's people in that company that weren't a part of that are pissed at CM Punk or pissed at the Elite because of who they were friends with.
Yeah.
And if you're going to work them, that's not a good atmosphere to create.
No, absolutely not.
So.
Absolutely not. Well, that's a great segue into the last thing that we have to talk about tonight. We have 3 minutes to talk about it, so let's get through it. I'm just kidding.
It's not going to be 3 minutes, bud. It's like 48 days.
3 minutes.
So a lot has happened since we last spoke. with the CM Punk thing.
Clubber Lang.
Oh, fuck. None of this stuff's going to open, is it? So Punk sent out the thing on Instagram, burying Jericho, possibly Tony, some other people, and then he deleted it, posted the thing about Shawn Michaels, which is hilarious. And Fightful had an article basically outlining stuff that they had heard when Brawl Out happened, but also stuff that is coming out now that we have some distance between, we have some distance away from Brawl Out. And they're like, see, this is what we were talking about. That we have this divide, that we have Jericho calling Punk cancer, and now he's not. Yeah. And like all of this shit. But it seems like
one of the biggest problems with this is this: when you have a fight and something like that goes down, and it's an emotional thing, and you get ripped in half like a locker room, people say shit because they're emotional.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna fucking happen. And that getting called the cancer is that, throwing a chair is that. There was so many emotions that were building up, and there was so much frustration, and it just went boom. And that was because it was never. I'd like to think that Vince would have taken care of that, but then I really truly think about it, he would have pushed buttons and made it worse.
Yeah,
because it would have made compelling TV.
Yes, absolutely.
And he just would have prevented him from fighting. I'm pretty sure that's all he would have done.
Yeah,
he would have had agents kind of.
Better.
And then he would have had them fight the next week, because as CM Punk has pointed out, and many people, and many other people, I'm sure, is Vince liked it like the Wild West. He liked it where everybody was kind of a little bit on each other's nerves,
But see that goes to the last thing we were just talking about too, though. That's why those guys, the Jerichos, the Punks, the fucking Danielsons, the Moxleys, that's what they were brought up in. That's how they do business. That's the locker room they're used to.
I think that's the most interesting part, is because
you beat the shit out of each other, you shake hands, you call it a night.
Yes. Which has its pros and cons too. I look at how business has been done up until CM Punk, Daniel Bryanson, Brian Diane. I've said his name 6 different times 6 different ways this podcast. But
you got it once, right? You got it right once.
I try. You should throw shit at the wall long enough, some of it's gonna stick.
Yeah.
Anyway, fuck, I lost my train of thought because I was too busy roasting myself. I just think it's so interesting because you have such a long history of guys with egos who want to get big in the biz, and so they protect themselves so hard. And I think CM Punk in particular is so, because he was one of the first indie guys to make it big there, and indie grown ROH guys, and he's riding that line. He's in some ways he's very much, he does business like Stone Cold Steve Austin did, like Hulk Hogan did, to some extent John Cena did, but he also understands that wrestling is not just about a paycheck. And it's very interesting to me. That's all.
It's really interesting. CM Punk's an interesting guy. And I think that's what this comes down to. And I think that's why people care about what he does. Mm-hmm. He's just a unique guy. Mm-hmm. And he's pissy and he's moody. And the people that he likes you never fucking understand why he likes the people he likes. And he doesn't like the people he doesn't. He just randomly liked Kofi Kingston.
Yeah.
Him and Kofi are buddy. It's just that's the weirdest 2 people ever. And then Luke, he loved Luke Gallows. He met Luke Gallows when he was fake Kane and thought he was a great guy and was talented.
Yeah.
He was fucking fake Kane. He was terrible. So it's just what are we doing?
I can speak for myself. CM Punk is a very, he either rubs you the wrong way or you really get behind him. And I think that's probably why people on the internet, when this all went down, were so adamant about it. That's why I was so emotional about it, was because I had this guy who was I liked him. I thought he was awesome. He's the, and then he does shit like this, and it feels like he's becoming a different person.
I always feel like he's working. even when he's not
so
working.
do I. So do
And
I.
I think reading all the shit the past week, hearing all the shit the past week about all the stuff going on with Punk and all the bullshit, I think the person that hit the nail on the head was Jim Ross. Do you want CM Punk to come back? Yeah, I do. I think he has a lot to give AEW. He has a lot of star power.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll bring eyes on the product. And just remember, controversy creates cash. And I think at the end of the day, I think that's what this is going to be. Because that fucker keeps stirring that pot. He's staying in that spotlight. We're not forgetting about him.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if he came back,
that's somewhere he's about recovered from his injury too.
Yeah, he's ready. So shit, if he comes on Dynamite next week, fucking walks out and lays out fucking Kenny Omega.
Could you imagine him in the Blackpool Combat Club right now? Could you imagine that shit? Oh my god.
It would be amazing. But that's what I mean. He could just come back and he could just fucking lay out Omega, and that fucking place would be
Mox, Danielson, and Claudio.
That's Jim Ross is right, and I think Jim Ross is really fucking smart.
Yeah.
And we give him shit because he's old, just like Cornette. I dislike Cornette because he's got so many crazy opinions, but his base wrestling knowledge is really, really fucking fantastic. If you listen to him, how you put together a match, how you lay out a match, how you do stuff, it's incredible. Ross is kind of in that same boat, but not a dick. I love Jim.
I think Jim. Well, I think the difference, the reason I winced is that, like, I think Jim kept up with the product. I think he has a better understanding of the product today than Cornette ever did. Because I don't think Cornette has any interest in understanding wrestling.
1985 and fucking Kentucky.
And not 85, Leon. Fucking 87. Get it right.
God damn it.
My bad. I apologize.
You are right. Like Jim Cornette has a wealth of knowledge that is old knowledge. I think Jim Ross has.
I think some of the knowledge Jim Cornette has is just basic wrestling knowledge that doesn't change.
Yeah.
But his idea of, and some of his shit is really good, and some of the stuff he says is really on point. But he does not understand the characters. He does not understand the business anymore. He does not understand what sells and what doesn't sell. He doesn't understand. And I think one of the biggest things that when I listen to these older guys talk, the biggest issue with wrestling and the ratings is that there's so many platforms to watch shit now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to have TV anymore. There's companies that can make it on a YouTube show because NWA was doing it. You know what I mean? So there's those different avenues. And I just think the way it works is... And it also, if you put a match on like 1987 style Kentucky, if you put that on and it was like a 47-minute match with rest holds all the time, your audience would fucking tune out.
Yeah.
The fan base does not want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Right.
I get rest holds, but that's another problem is with AEW though. While we're on the subject, you can't really do rest holds in AEW. You know what I mean? And it's like, are they shooting themselves in the foot long term by constantly pushing that envelope?
I think we've already seen that. Like, how often are guys going out on injury? Pretty often. But I think that's less about AEW. I mean, AEW has their hand in it, but I think a lot of that is they gathered all their talent from the indies, like guys who came up from the indies too. And so that's the indies. That's what they just do crazy shit. And so like Tony Khan was just like, this is cool.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
But let's not act like the WWE doesn't have like 400 guys doing planches over the top rope.
Yeah.
Like Big E used to do those. And it was always like, oh my God, he's going to die.
Do you remember when Undertaker used to do planches? It was not very often, but like every time he did one, I popped so hard.
And he almost died on like
once a year. 3
of the 4 he did.
Yeah.
That got Solo Snuka fired. Was it Solo Snuka? Jimmy Snuka's kid was the cameraman at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
That was there to help catch The Undertaker when he did a dive on to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25.
Oh.
And he totally botched it and missed him. and Taker slapped him while they were out there, and then he got fired not too long after that. So
You had one job.
I don't think the CM Punk thing is. I don't see anybody stressing it anymore. I think everybody's kind of come to terms with.
I think
he's coming back.
Like
he's coming back.
Stuff is coming out now. I think, as I said, like enough time has passed that Punk is letting stuff out and Mox has left stuff out. I think Omega and the Bucks are probably going to start talking about it. I think that's all it is. It's just like now we're getting more information and we're like, oh, but he's still coming back. Like it makes a lot of sense. In some ways, it makes a lot of sense for them to release this stuff. Because if it makes Punk look worse, he comes back as a stronger heel. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't work with everybody, but I think that
he's got to come back as a heel. Normally, when you're hurt, and you come back and you're a star like that, you have to come back as a face. He cannot come back as a face.
If he, again, Blackpool Combat Club, but it doesn't even really have to be that. Like all he'd have to do is come out. He would get the pop, and then if he lays out Kenny Omega, that's it. Like, he's a heel at that point.
Has to fucking be Kenny Omega. It has to be Kenny Omega.
It does.
That's the match. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not fretting that as much as I used to. I thought at first they needed Punk back as soon as possible, and they needed the Elite back as soon as possible. They didn't.
No.
They did, which is great, because it means they have depth. And I think, honestly, I want to see Miro come back.
Yeah. I don't think
he's got a 3-year contract. He's got a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
At some point, he's going to come back. He wants to wrestle, and they want to have him there, but they just can't find an angle for him. But bring him back. Let him have a run. That's a guy that I want to see be a world champion.
Yeah.
I just want to see him when he was the TNT champion. He was just fucking murking people. Give him the world belt. And let him do that.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. So like him coming back. There's other guys I just want to see. So I'm not fretting Punk that much. Punk brings more mainstream eyes, which is great. But whatever, come back, do your thing. And when he comes back, it'll be huge, and I hope it's great. I hope it's not one of those things where we're like, oh, this fucking sucks. But I don't think it will be.
I know Punk is smarter than that, I think. And
I just hope he's in the right headspace. I hope the Elite's ready for him. I mean, the other thing I thought was, they're talking about contracts being up. Are the Elite going to fucking leave AEW? Because of Punk, and then Punk slides in? That would be fucking wild. There's no more Elite.
Omega's not. I'm pretty certain Omega's not. I read somewhere that he had a conversation with Punk just before Punk went out. Like he was about to go to surgery or something. I don't remember. And they were like, that was like, Punk was like, this wasn't about you. And Omega's like, yeah. And they had like a 30-second conversation, and then that was it.
Yeah.
I don't think Omega's going anywhere unless he goes to NJPW. I don't think he's going anywhere because of Punk. The
and that's not what I thought either. That's not what I thought either, because I think one of the things I read was there's a lot of people that he wants to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a guy who, if he thinks there's a story there and he can have matches, he's going to go. Because I think he realizes if he goes to WWE, he's not a main event guy.
Yeah.
He's not as good as he is. And he should be, but they won't put him there. They'll put him in that AJ Styles role. That's exactly what he'll do. That's exactly how they're going to look at him. They might even put him in a tank team and call him the Indie or something.
Only if
that's
Vince.
Vince.
That's totally Vince. Yeah.
But I could see him for wanting to work with certain people, because there's people up there. I think he could have him and Seth Rollins would have a great match.
Yeah.
Him and Roman, I would love to see. There's just not him and Cody, because I think that already happened. But you get my drift.
Him and Logan Paul, obviously.
Yeah. Logan Paul's contract's up after WrestleMania 39.
It is. That's a very sad thing. Very, very sad.
I'm broken up over it.
I know, right?
I don't know. I think this company grew and grew and grew, and we were getting all these new stars, and then we got Adam Cole, and we got Bryan Danielson, and we got CM Punk, and we got all these people that came in, and they ate up so much more space. but you couldn't not hire them. You know what I mean? You couldn't, like, it's Bryan fucking Danielson. Nah, we're not interested in you. Well, yeah, sure we are. Come on over. What do you want? We'll give you whatever you want. And same thing with, like, Adam Cole. You know, it's like, and even Ruby Soho. They're doing so much with now, and I'm so fucking happy. And I think she is the leader of that group. But then you get Punk, and Punk talks to you. Fucker hasn't wrestled in 7 years. Everybody wants something like you can't say no to that.
It's true.
You know, so that's but those guys kind of left, and I think that's got to be a weird power struggle too, because the Elite was there and they were kind of the guys calling the shot, and Cody was part of that. Then Cody left, and then these other guys came in, and it's just kind of the whole thing makes sense to me if you look at the whole way shit was unfolding. But they went almost stagnant there for a little while because they were pushing all these WWE guys that came in.
Yeah.
And they forgot about these bottom guys. They forgot about the guys that were actually there, like building it up, like a Sammy Guevara, like Darby Allin.
MJF.
You know, guys
like
MJF.
MJF to some extent got
but even like Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, those two guys should have been getting a huge push 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they couldn't because there was like, no, well, we don't have a spot for you.
Yeah.
Now Ricky Starks is one of those guys. You know, so it's just it wasn't the worst thing that happened to him. At the time we thought it was this big black eye and yada 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 and so terrible. And now I look at it and I go, kind of helped him refocus.
Yeah.
It really fucking did.
It did. Yeah.
Really fucking did.
Even that show after it happened, like
refocused.
It was like it was immediate, and that was great. That was perfect. And I hope they keep that mindset when Punk comes back, and now that Cole's back. And
I hope it was a lesson, and I hope they realize, because I almost think some of these fans are more invested in those guys we perceive as indie guys than they are the other guys. Because the other guys, they already know, it's like, oh yeah, they're popular, cool, great. But then it's like me and Orange Cassidy. Like, a lot of people probably have their guy like that. That's a homegrown AEW guy. Like, I fucking love Orange Cassidy. Anything he does, I'm like, fuck yeah. And like for you, Powerhouse Hobbs. And then for Leon, I don't know, whoever.
My favorite wrestler, whoever.
Satnam Singh. He likes Satnam Singh. Big tall man, do chop.
When I would watch WWE and a big name would come back from WCW or wherever, I would be like, oh, it's so cool to have him back. I want to see him do the same shit that he did before. But with this, it's like, with AEW, it's like Bryan Danielson came to AEW. That's awesome. I want to see these dream matches. Like, those guys I don't see as being the face of the company. I see them as like, let's put them in these cool matches that fans
I agree with
see.
you, but they're pushing them like they're the face of the company.
They were for a long time, and my hope is that they have changed that stance. I think to some extent they've not done that same thing with the Elite. I think they've done more of the dream match thing, or like really big bouts, like with Death Triangle. I think that they're more about big matches and less about being the face of the show.
Perfect. I agree with that. We'll see what happens. I'm not overly worried about Punk coming back, whatever. We'll see.
He seems like he wants to. And that's, in my opinion, that's like 100% right there. Like, come back if you want to. I think if you don't want to come back, if you don't want to be there, why the fuck are you there? Like, get rid of them. And that's not like a mean thing, but like, if you don't want to be there, you're going to be miserable. You're going to make everybody else miserable. Don't do it. There's no reason to have you there if you don't want to be there. Aside from, money or whatever.
Money.
All right, should we call it? Or do we have any other Punk work theories?
I hope CM Punk comes back with Brutus the Barber Beefcake's old theme music and just starts cutting hair.
He would do that. And
he
would get it over.
And then he'll have in his corner Sheik Tugboat.
Jesus.
Sheik Tugboat. Is that the BREWDCAST mascot of 2023?
Sheik fucking
Sheik
Tugboat.
fucking Jesus Christ.
WrestleMania 40 next year, the main event. I can book this story in my fucking head. Tugboat comes back.
Of course.
He's still alive.
Is
he comes back. Yeah, he is. Okay, Earthquake is not, but he is. He comes back. He's probably not doing that great, but he comes back as Sheik Tugboat with some guys. Maybe the Iron Sheik. Bring the Iron Sheik back. That'll be great. He comes back. He comes back. He pins Cody for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
He turns on America, says he's going to join Iraq, even though we're not at war with them anymore. But he does the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He gets a guy in a mask with a Sheik face on. Okay. And they beat up everybody. And then we go to the Royal Rumble, number 30, Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy wins the Rumble. Main events WrestleMania 40 against Sheik Tugboat. After weeks and weeks of build-up. And Orange Cassidy hulks up, body slams Sheik Tugboat, hits him with an orange punch, pins him. Okay, and then the Iron Sheik runs
and then turns on America.
No, then the Iron Sheik runs in the
hobbles,
rolls into the ring, hobbles into the ring, and he gets an orange punch. And then the guy in the mask comes in the ring. He gets an orange punch, takes the mask off. Saddam Hussein.
Full circle.
Orange Cassidy takes the belt, looks at it, goes cool. Throws it in a garbage can and leaves.
I still think he hands it to the fans. I mean,
throws it away.
It's a nice thing. He just doesn't want it, so he gives it to somebody else.
You want this?
Gives it to a cameraman.
Sheik Tugboat for Orange Cassidy for WrestleMania 40. Do it.
I feel like Bruce Pritchard is listening to you right now, taking notes.
I like Bruce Pritchard's podcast. I like Bruce Pritchard because that dude knows he's fucking dealt with some shit, but he stands by it and he tries to defend it. Kudos to him. And when something's super really bad, he's like, yeah, that was really bad. I don't know what to say. Like Katie Vick.
That was him.
He was part of it.
Oh.
Yeah. Or it was Vince's idea mainly, but he was part of it. Or
that's surprising.
When the Ultimate Warrior got the curse from Papa Shango and was spitting up the vomit in the back, and it was like green pea soup. Yeah, that was another one. He was just like, I don't know what to tell you. That was just really bad.
Oh, Christ.
Outro, Bud.
Yeah. This has been Bud.
Okay, hold on. Leon said something.
Yeah.
What is Leon saying?
I think he wasn't there during Shango's run, or most of it. He just recently did a Godfather episode, and I'm pretty sure he talked about one of his things because that was when he was on his hiatus. His hiatus.
The Papa Shango thing?
I believe so, yeah.
He was there for like the beginning of it. Just the split.
What it was? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I just remember him talking about how he wish he would have been there because he had so many other ideas that he would have liked to try with him and everything with that character. So
hey, Kama Mustafa was the best. Papa Shango turned into Kama Mustafa.
Oh, right. Yeah.
What about, do you guys remember Savio Vega?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when Savio Vega was a Puerto Rican ninja named Quang?
No, but you told me about this and I lost my shit.
He also recently did a Box of Gimmicks episode where they went through many of the goofiest ones, and Quang was one of them.
Jesus Christ.
His wrestle crap induction. You know what it says?
Basically.
It says, what sound does shit make when it hits a fan? Quang! You can't argue that, though. I mean, it does. Totally true.
I mean, it does.
That tracks.
Pretty sure.
That tracks.
True.
I have been Bud Robinson. This has been Leon. This has been Town. And now
I've been Leon.
Yes, you have. You have. And now we're gonna go
Yeah.
go to bed. I'm gonna eat some curry.
Enjoy the curry.
I'm gonna have a chip. I'm gonna have a chip. One chip.